What's up out there? We are back with some more Path of Exile, and this is part 2 of my strategies and tips for making currency in SSF. Few things to get out of the way. This is as of patch 3.26. The game frequently changes, so some of this may change at some point. Your mileage may vary. These are potentially useful in trade. What we're going to talk about here is pretty basic stuff, but I don't know what people do in trade because I don't play trade. This is by no means the most exhaustive or efficient list of everything possible, and we are largely ignoring any kind of mapping strategy, scarabs, or magic find. In this video, I want to talk about selling items directly to the vendor for currency, specifically jeweler's orbs, fusing, chromatic orbs, glass blower baubles, and gem cutters prisms. These are basic currencies, and I know this is like easy 101 stuff, but if you're coming from another game, PoE 2 or some other game, Diablo, whatever, you may not know that you can trade this stuff for currency, and this is very handy currency, that especially if you're playing SSF. This is stuff you just can never have enough of, usually, for most of this. So these are very handy to know. And these are not vendor recipes. Vendor recipes are a whole other thing, where I'm not talking about trading something for like boots with movement speed. That's vendor recipes. We're not talking about that. We're talking about specific items that trade for currency. That's it. And the item level doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether you get this early in the game, late in the game, whether you're trying out a new character. If you vacuum all this stuff up and trade it, you will get the currency out of it, unless they change things. So the first thing we're going to talk about is jeweler's orbs. You can never get enough of these things, and they trade for like fusings and whatever other stuff you want. So what you want to do is save any item with 6 sockets, not 6 linked sockets, 6 sockets. And you can have up to 5 links. So they can be linked up to a point, but 6 links trade for something else. Anything with just plain 6 sockets will trade for a stack of jeweler's orbs. These are really handy, and they start dropping, I don't know, Act 6, 7, somewhere in there. I'll start vacuuming up. These I prioritize over other things that trade for like chromes or whatever. I will prioritize these over certain other pieces of gear, but anything that's got 6 sockets in it, I try to vacuum up and sell off because I can just never have enough jeweler's orbs, which leads us over into fusings. I never have enough fusings, and jeweler's orbs can be traded for fusings. So for fusings, you can get 6 linked. If you get a 6 linked item that you don't want, and a good example of that is anything from corrupted strong boxes. It's going to come out corrupted. Chances are you're not going to use the gear, and you're going to think, well, it's kind of useless. I don't really want it. But those trade for stacks of fusings, a good stack of fusings too. So these are really handy to have. And if you spec into like strong boxes on the Atlas tree, you can get these, quite a decent stack of these over time. Pairing that with trading 6 socketed items for jeweler's orbs, it'll take a while, but you can build up 1,500 fusings to do the benchcraft for a 6 linked item if you need to. That's basically my strategy for 6 linking an item, is just saving up fusings and jeweler's orbs and fusings, and combining it all together and getting enough that I need. The next one we're going to talk about is chromatic orbs. Any item that is RGB, red, green, it has to have a red, a green, and a blue socket that is linked together. They have to be linked. Now, this is the same thing. You can have 3, 4, or 5 linked items that are like this. Now, if it's 6 socketed and 5 linked with an RGB, it's going to trade for a jeweler's. But anything that is 5 sockets, it doesn't matter if it's linked or not. If it's got an RGB scheme inside of it and it's linked together, you can trade this for chromes. And I start saving these things up from the very beginning of the game. It's always in my filter. I'll start ignoring them once I've got enough of them later on. But even if you've got like 1,000 of them, if you're trying to get certain colors on, especially off color to whatever armor you've got, if you're trying to off color something, the pulls on the crafting bench are like what, 100 chromes or 100, 125, something like that. So you get maybe 10 pulls on that to try to swap your gear out per 1,000. So it gets very costly to have. You need a lot of them, let's just say that. So from the very beginning of the game, anything that's an RGB item, I will just grab, sell, and trade off. These are the ones that if I pick up a chest piece that's an RGB, it's going to take up a lot of room in my inventory. If I get a 6 socketed item that I'm going to get jewelers on, I'll drop it for that. But if I'm trying to save up chromes or something like that, I'll vacuum all of it up. You can kind of feel like a poor running around doing that, but when you're playing SSF, you kind of need these currencies and you need a lot of them. So RGB items are great to grab and sell at any point in time. The next thing we're going to talk about is something I use up to a point and then I kind of quit, but that's flasks with quality on them. And I set my filter to pick up anything with 5% or higher quality on flasks. These trade in once you total out 40%. So two 20% quality flasks will trade for a glassblower's bauble. Two combined, that's 40% quality total. You can do 1% up to 20% and then combine a whole bunch of them together and sell them if you want to go through all that effort. But I just basically vacuum up a bunch of superior flasks with 5% or more quality and then trade them off for glass blowers and then rinse and repeat. And then once you've got all your flasks qualityed up, you kind of don't really need to do those anymore, but they're very handy to collect and just build up a pile of glass blowers. And then kind of in the same vein, we're going to close off on gem cutters prisms. These you need a lot of, and they're kind of hard to get. They do drop, but the best way to get gem cutters prisms, in my opinion, is just vacuuming up any gems with quality. I set my filter for anything 5% or above. I don't bother with 1 to 4%. It's just too much effort. But if you trade a cumulative total of 40% quality, you will get a gem cutters prism. Same thing as the glass blowers, but this is for gem cutters with gems. And you can get these from a number of different mechanics. When we talk about the league mechanics side, there's a variety of different ways of getting these things. And if you get them with quality, up to 20% or whatever, you can trade the higher ones. I personally, anything with 20% or above, I just hang on to. And then anything between 5 and 19%, I'll trade off. And I'll just build a whole pile of those things up from whatever source there is I get them with. And then every once in a while, I'll just go purge out all of my gem stash tab, and then just go sell them off at any vendor. It doesn't matter what vendor it is. You can sell them all off, get a bunch of gem cutters, and then throw them back in my inventory, and then good to go. So those are how I get those basic currencies. I know these are probably pretty basic for if you've played Path of Exile for any length of time. Like, these are not unknowns by any stretch. But these are very handy, and I will vacuum up almost everything that I see. The flasks and glass blowers are kind of the ones that I don't really mess with, but pretty much everything else on here, I will vacuum up all of it, and I'll go back multiple times to get most of these things. The chromes, stuff that with RGB items, I may not grab as many of those, especially later on once my build's pretty settled out, but for the rest of this stuff, all that other stuff, I just grab up and go trade, because you never know when you're going to need it, and you need a lot of most of these. So anyway, that's going to do it for this video. We will catch you on the next one. Take care.